Welcome to Pride in Parsippany. I'm your host, Mayor James Barberio, and today with me I have Bob Schmidt, Fire Prevention, who's in charge of the whole Fire Prevention Department. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mayor.
Well, I got some questions to ask you because I know, as a mayor, I know your role, but I want the residents to know what your role is, but I want to know what they need to do, if anything. So I gather, like I said, that most residents don't understand fully the role of our Fire Prevention Unit. Can you explain that?
Yeah, the Fire Prevention Bureau it does the state fire code. We enforce the ordinances of the state and local ordinances. We go to buildings, commercial buildings, restaurants. We do thorough walkthrough and make sure everything's up to date. No extension cords. Make sure all the in restaurants the fire suppression system's up to date. If there's sprinkler systems, fire alarm reports, we make sure that there's a yearly report done on them. The state code says that they have to have these tested once a year.
Is there any need for a resident to come to your office?
For the residents to come to the office is only if they're selling their house or if they have an apartment that they're renting out. They have to come and have a smoke detector, carbon monoxide, fire extinguisher certification. And what that is the inspectors will come out and make sure that the smoke detectors are installed in the correct places on each level of the house. And carbon monoxide detectors are outside the sleeping area, and that there's a fire extinguisher mounted in the kitchen within 10 feet of the cooking area. And we'll also make sure that the smoke detectors are less than 10 years old. If they're 10 years or older, they have to be replaced.
All right, so, but my other question, so the seller doesn't have any responsibility, it would be the buyer?
No, it's the seller of the house.
Okay, it's not, I mean, it would be the seller, not the buyer?
Correct.
All right, so in order, say you wanted to close on a house, and you still you have to have that certification before it closes?
Yes, before the closing. Before they go into closing, they have to have it
That's good
at
to
the
know.
date of the closing.
So the seller has to
Correct, the seller.
get the permit, get the proper...
Some houses, if it's a foreclosure and all that, then it'll revert back to the buyer who's buying it to make sure that everything's done.
Right.
That's the only time that they get involved with it.
Okay, with regard to residential homeowners, how often should you change, okay, you just said that, batteries and the smoke detector.
Well,
not batteries, that's
right.
different.
The batteries and the smoke detectors, we tell them to do it every 6 months.
Right.
And we try teaching the kids and all that when they change their clocks, change the batteries and the smoke detectors. It's just to make sure that they'll have fresh batteries in the detectors.
But aren't there different kinds of fire detectors? I know, one's carbon monoxide, but there's another one that's even supposed to... Which one's better to have in your house?
Well, we try to tell the people, like, if they're putting new systems in their houses or battery-operated ones, to get the combination units.
That's it.
Because this way, this way they only have to worry about one set of batteries in a unit instead of the battery for each separate unit.
And I think what you mean by that is combination, one for carbon monoxide, right? And the other one's for smoke.
Right, it's all built into one unit.
Okay, so now I'm going to answer this question because I'm probably converting to gas. If you get these detectors, where do you put them on a lower outlet or a higher outlet? You know, sometimes, if you have it low here, does it make sense? Because I know smoke rises or carbon monoxide rises.
The smoke detectors have to be on the ceilings.
Okay, that I know, but how about the carbon monoxide?
The carbon monoxide, if you have electric ones that plug into an outlet, that's fine there. Or if you get a battery-operated one, a little bit about eye level we try to make it. This way you got it covered from both angles.
Okay, that's good. How often should you have, I've never done one, fire drills in your home?
Fire drills with the kids, you should have them once a month.
Okay.
What you can do is sit down and talk to them, once a month, and every other month actually do a physical drill with them. Get them outside, bring the smoke detector so they know what they sound like, because some kids will sleep through them.
Yep.
And when they get outside, show them a meeting place, either by a tree in the front yard, by the mailbox, away from the road a little bit, because when the fire apparatus comes down, we don't want anybody to get hurt. But this way, when the fire department comes up on there, the chief comes up there, he goes right to that, is everybody out of the house?
I have to answer this question about fire detectors. I should probably go to Home Depot and ask this question, but because I've had this problem before, fairly new, and they would just go off. And then I'd change the batteries, and they would still go off, and there would be no smoke anywhere.
Some of them malfunction.
Yeah, that's what. Okay,
Yeah.
so pretty much that's the
It's,
problem.
if you hit a bad batch,
Right.
That's
So-
why when you change the batteries and they're still beeping, there's something wrong with it for the amount of money that they cost.
Oh, they're not much at all.
So
Yeah.
it's just the safety of the, back of your mind. You have the safety
Now,
of the kids.
some of them are electric and battery operated, right?
Yes, most of the newer systems, they're hardwired with a battery backup. So if the power goes out in the house, they'll still run off of the battery.
Oh, I see.
Or if the central station, they have a panel in the basement or in a closet that has a big battery in there that'll run off all
I
your
didn't know
detectors to keep them safe so they're working even though the power is out.
Yeah, because mine are hooked up to the electric, and then I have battery backup.
Battery backups, right.
All
And you'll hear them chirp every once in a while.
Yep. Well, I'm going to have to change them soon. How should a flammable and combustible liquids be stored and labeled? That's a good point.
Okay, we like to tell them to either flammable, keep it in the garage area, or if they have a shed outside, the best place is in the shed. The furthest away from the house is the best. In the correct containers, so they have the gasoline,
Right.
make sure they're in a red container. And
How do you dispose of, say, flammable liquids?
what they do, they can call the county,
It
the
is the
Morris
county.
County Comm Center up there, and they have once a month or something where the residents of Morris County can go up there and dispense all their liquids, batteries, all kinds of
That's
stuff.
good. That's good to know.
Yep.
Okay, we talked about selling a house. So, if I'm selling a house, and you come, you're not just coming to inspect the fire. What do you call it? Detectives. You come and inspect the whole entire house, correct?
No, not the Fire Prevention Bureau is only technically only supposed to check the smoke detectors,
Okay.
make sure they're on each level of the house and they're working. Carbon monoxide, like I said before, outside the sleeping area, and a fire extinguisher.
All right.
That's all the Fire Prevention Bureau has. The other part of it is the housing.
Okay. Okay. How and where should a resident? Sometimes I can't read very well, so I do
that's
apologize
okay.
because my eyesight's not so great. But how and where should a resident have their house number displayed and visible?
We'd like to keep it by the front door, as big numbers and all that. So, or on the mailbox too, on both places,
Right.
because sometimes the mailbox, it'll get hit or taken away in the numbers. But on the house, either above the front door or to the right or the left, and that's just not for the fire department; it's for the police department
Right, it's
and ambulance. It's for all emergency services or even anybody, so it's easier to find a house.
Okay, now let's discuss probably what you do more, the business community. So we'll start with, what are the requirements for having extinguisher service? Because I know you do go, there's a lot of businesses. I can't imagine how many you have to do, but
Oh yeah, we got over 2,000 inspectable, 2,500 inspectable businesses
right.
within the town. The fire extinguishers, they have to be serviced once a month, or excuse me, maybe for once a year.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's easy for the business to look at it because all they have to do is look at the tag, and every extinguisher is tagged. It's different than home residence. Residence is just as long as it's in the green and the gauge.
Right.
That's fine. With businesses, once a year they have to be inspected, and on a tag they'll have it punched out a month in the year. So if they just look at that tag and it's 1 year from the date of punched.
Right.
So if it was punched today, it's good till this date and next year in 2017 that it has to be serviced again.
Right. So let me ask you this about restaurants, because we know they cook, there's a lot of smoke and a lot of fire there. Not fire on fire, but how often should a restaurant have their cooking suppression system clean, and what would be the purpose? Why?
The cooking, the suppression system should be serviced every 6 months by law. This way we know that it's operating correctly, and they'll come and make sure that the nozzles, we call them, that come down out of the system is facing the correct way into what cooking area they have. And the hood system that's above in the kitchens has to be cleaned at least 3 times a year, but it's all depend on the company that you have. They determine how often it has to be done, because some restaurants build up grease more than other ones.
Right.
So they make the determination on how often it should be cleaned, from the ductwork all the way up to the roof. They have to have the fans cleaned and all that.
Okay, how
Just
about...
where you won't have a grease fire.
Right. Yeah, because with grease and all that.
Yeah.
Well, how about in business, in restaurants and sprinklers and fire alarm systems should be checked.
They have to be tested, inspected once a year.
So
The fire alarm once a year and the sprinkler once a year. Some places they'll say, well, how come I have to do it quarterly? And that's because the insurance companies now on big buildings would want it done quarterly, so they know
right.
that they're insuring a business that is going to be protected.
Okay, how about, let me see. Well, how often do you expect local businesses throughout the whole entire town?
We do them once a year, the local businesses throughout the town. The only ones that we do quarterly are big restaurants, big eating areas, anything that has 300 or more seating areas, some of the hotels, some of the big restaurants and all that, Ruth Chris's, for instance, but anything that has 300 or more seating occupancy, we do them as called a quarterly inspection. They have to be done 4 times a year.
You have some big companies here too that you have to deal with. I mean,
yeah, we got real big companies. Sometimes you get in a building and it takes a day and a half.
Yeah, I mean,
to inspect, to do a thorough inspection.
I know, like when you go to like the new companies that came here, I've been to a lot of them. GAF, those are big buildings.
Oh yeah,
so those must take some time because you got the cafeteria you have to go through. You have to go through, I guess, do you inspect every area of it, like the bath, everything?
Yep, we do. We do electrical rooms. We check out storage rooms. We walk around in the cubicle area. You do a percentage on the floor and all that, just to make sure that they don't have any like space heaters and all that underneath the desk and all that. I know in the winter, some people get cold and all that. So we just,
Now you have community outreach too, right? I know you have that trailer. Is it?
Yeah, we have we call it the fire safety trailer for the kids, and we do that in October, Fire Prevention Week.
Right.
And actually, Parsippany is Fire Prevention Month because there's so many schools and it's such a big town. We do almost the whole month of October, and we go to the schools, and it's a nice little setup. It's like a little mini home.
Right.
In the bottom, you have a kitchen area, and to the left, you have like a little living room area with a TV and you talk to the kids about have a little fireplace, stay away from the fireplace. And then, believe it or not, it goes upstairs on the second floor, and we have a little bedroom with a heated door and all that. And we talk to them about sleeping at nighttime with your doors closed. So if there is a fire on the outside, it'll keep the smoke and flames from coming in. We actually teach them how to feel the door with the back of their hand. And then they climb outside, and they climb down the stairwell, and they go outside. So it's like they're in their bedroom itself.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's pretty good. You mentioned schools. We have 13 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 2 high schools. Do you inspect them as well?
We inspect them, yes, once a year.
Wow, that's all.
Yep.
And that's good to know they're safe.
Right. Yeah. And then even because on the weekends sometimes there's functions at the school, so we'll be there on the weekends too.
Okay. Say somebody wants to have a party, and they want to have a tent. Outside, I guess you wouldn't put a tent inside, but would they still need to get a permit?
If it was a business, yes, for the fire prevention. If it's 800 square feet or more,
right.
If it's a little pump-up tents and all that, no, you don't need them. But anything that's larger, 800 square feet, they do need a permit from us. And if they're having one at their house, we really don't get involved with it. But I'm pretty sure they might have to just check with the zoning department to make sure that in case they need any permits from them.
I'm going to add some questions here, but one question I have is because I'm on the planning board as well. I noticed that when companies or residents want to do something, they have to get a letter, or we need to receive a letter from the fire inspector. And what would be some of the questions they would ask? Like, I'll give an example maybe. You would have some comments. You give comments to the board so they can make the proper decisions, like parking and all that.
Yeah, what we usually do is we sit down with the fire chiefs and all that, because you have 6 fire districts in this town. The fire chief will sit down and he'll mark out where the fire zone should go,
right, and
fire hydrants, locations, and all that. And all we can do is really make recommendations, and usually the board will go with
what
it
you recommend, right.
because we're the ones who are going
want-
to show
right.
up there. We're the professionals. We know, we're going to set up our trucks and all that. But yeah, the fire departments do have to send out a letter, on their suggestion, recommendations on the business.
I'll give you an example. You go by some of the supermarkets, and I noticed that in the supermarkets, in the supermarket, I just got a message sent to me, so that's okay. Very good, I got it. In the supermarket, I noticed the fire hydrant. I don't see the fire hydrants ever in the front of the buildings. Or they're usually in the back, or...
Well, they're probably in the back and all that because that's where your sprinkler room is going to be.
Right.
So it's easier for the fire department to go around to the back of the building, hook up their fire trucks to the hydrants, and push the water to the sprinkler system.
I see, okay.
You also want to think that that's most of your traffic, like in a supermarket, shop, or whatever. You have a lot of traffic,
Yes.
pedestrian traffic, so
Yes.
you probably want to stay away from that area as much as
'cause then that's
you will
right.
maybe not see them in the very, very front, but you might see them to the right or to the left,
Right.
and also in the back.
Do they ever have them on the walls, like?
They have what they call as a wall hydrant,
Right.
where you can pull water out of that building
Oh, I see, okay.
to suppress things. But mostly, if you see the two little connections there, they're called the sprinkler connections, Siamese
Right.
connections. That's for going into the sprinkler room.
All right. That was pretty good then. How about this one now? Because a lot of people like to burn wood outside. And how about a fire pit? Do you need to have a permit for a fire pit?
You do not need a permit for a fire pit. The only thing we suggest, and they keep it at least 10 to 15 feet away from the building,
Right.
their house or structure and all that, just for safety reasons.
You know what I find comforting? That most of the employees, I don't know if most or all, are firemen.
Every single one of them in my
Yeah.
bureau are firemen.
Yeah, firemen. And I don't know how many are Parsippany firemen, but this first, I like to, when we hire individuals, if they have that fire or whatever, I think it's an asset to the township.
Oh, absolutely, because you got to remember, there's volunteer firemen. If there's something that's big and all that, I tell my guys,
Right.
which they can get yelled at, whatever,
Yeah.
go to the scene.
Right.
Even if you help them to hook up to the fire hydrant, you're not going to go in and fight a fire and all that, but you're going to go there to at least help
Right.
the firemen to get their first setup.
Right.
Maybe they'll be the first ones on the scene and can tell the chief it is a false alarm.
Yep. No, and I think that's good. I mean, and I'm proud of that too,
Yeah.
because it's
Oh, yeah.
nice to have the people that volunteer in the community work in the community as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Very informative today, Bob.
Oh.
And I appreciate you coming on. But as a token, here's your mug.
Well, thank you very much.
I don't know if you're drinking coffee or
Oh,
tea,
yeah.
whatever. But thank you for being on Pride and Parsippany. And ladies and gentlemen, you heard a lot of things that Bob said today, Mr. Schmidt, and I'm proud to have you aboard.
Thank you very much.
And thank you once again for tuning in to Pride and Parsippany. And until next time, God bless you all.